house you're about to fall in love with? It might be hiding thousands in problems and you never know it until after you sign. Most buyers wait for the home inspector to tell them what's wrong. But by then you're already emotionally attached, your deposit is down, and walking away feels impossible. So let me show you exactly what I check as a realtor when I walk through a home with my clients, so you can spot the red flags yourself before it's too late. Before I even open the car door, I'm already working. The first thing I'm reading is the street itself, not the house. Is there a highway nearby? A shopping center backing onto the property? A warehouse? This thing will not show up in the listing photos, but they will affect your quality of life every single day and your resale value when it comes time to sell. I'm also looking at the neighbors' yards. A neglected yard next door is not just an eyesore. It's a preview of conversations you're going to have and problems you're going to manage for as long as you live there. But here is one most buyers skip entirely, and it starts before you even leave home. Before the showing, look up how long the house has been on the market. A home sitting for 3, 4, 5 months in a reasonably active market is sending you a signal. It might be overpriced. It might have issues that previous buyers walk away from. Or it might just have an awkward layout. Your job before you walk through the door is to find out which one it is. Ask your agent. Dig into the listing history. The answer will shape how you approach everything else on this list. Now we get out of the car, and the first thing I do is look up. As I approach any house, the first thing I do is look up. Every time, without fail, I'm looking for moss on the shingles that tell me the moisture has been sitting there. I'm looking for buckling or curling at edges and missing shingles. Any of those things means the roof is either at the end of its life or already past it. But here is the one that catches buyers off guard. Tree branches touching the roof. Trees that are too close to the house are a serious problem. Branches scratch and damage shingles. Roots can affect the foundation. And if a tree needs to come down, you're looking at the significant bill before you even fix anything else. If the roof looks questionable, factor in replacement costs before you make your offer, not after. Now, while we're still outside, I want you to slow down and do something most buyers never bother with. Walk the full perimeter of the house. I walk every single side of the house before I go inside. And what I'm looking for is foundation cracks. Here is how to read them quickly. Vertical cracks are the most common and usually the least serious, as long as they are smaller than about 3 mm wide. If they are wider than 6 mm, that's a problem worth investigating. Horizontal cracks and stair-step cracks are the ones that should make you stop. Those mean so is pushing against the foundation, and that's a structural conversation, not a cosmetic one. And here is something worth remembering. If you see a crack that has been patched, don't just move on. A patch tells you there was an issue at some point. The question is whether it was properly fixed or just covered up. Make a note and make sure your inspector digs into it. And if it's rained recently before you're showing, don't skip this next one. This one only works if it's rained recently before you're showing, but if it has, it's incredibly useful. Walk the yard and look for areas where water is pooling, especially close to the house. That's a drainage issue, and drainage issues become basement issues. File that away. One more thing before we go inside, and most buyers completely forget to look at this. Look at the chimney from the outside before we go in. I'm looking for missing mortar between the bricks, any bricks that looks like they're shifting or failing out, and most importantly, is the chimney leaning? A leaning chimney is a serious structural red flag. That is not a small fix. If there is a pool, we are not going inside yet. A pool is one of those features that buyers love in the listing photos and sometimes regret in real life, not because of the pool itself, but because of what comes with it. When I'm looking at the pool, I'm checking 4 things. The liner first. You can usually tell when the liner is getting old. The color fades, it starts to look brittle or wrinkled. A liner replacement is expensive, and it's not optional when it goes. The coping, that's the edge material around the top of the pool. Cracked or loose coping means water is getting underneath, and that's led to bigger structural problems with the pool itself. The decking around the pool, any major cracks or shifting in the deck surface, that's a safety issue and a repair cost. And finally, the equipment, the pump, the filter, the heater if there is one. How does it look? Is it well maintained or is it rusted and weathered? Pool equipment has a lifespan, and older equipment is a cost you need to factor in your offer. A pool that looks beautiful on the surface can be hiding thousands of dollars in deferred maintenance. Don't let the listing photo make the decision for you. Now we go inside, and the first thing I check is going to surprise you. I know it sounds strange, but the first thing I look at when I walk into any house is the floor. My colleagues find it funny. I don't care, because floors are expensive and the damage is often hiding in plain sight. For hardwood floors, I'm looking for black stains. That's water damage that has soaked into the wood. I'm looking for soft spots when I walk across them, or any actual holes or gouges. Hardwood can be refinished if the damage is cosmetic, and section can sometimes be replaced, but water-damaged hardwood often needs to come out entirely. For tile, marble, porcelain, ceramic, I'm looking at the condition across the whole floor, not just one room. Here is why this matters so much. Replacing tile is one of the most expensive and disruptive renovations you can do. You have to remove every broken piece, which is labor-intensive and can damage the subfloor underneath. And if the tile is discontinued, finding a match is nearly impossible. I've seen buyers fall in love with the house and then completely underestimate what a floor full of cracked tiles was actually going to cost them. Hardwood can be refinished. Tile cannot be patched invisibly. Keep that in mind when you're doing the math. Floors done. Now I look up. Once I've checked the floors, I look up. Every ceiling in every room. Water stains are the obvious one. Yellow or brown rings on the ceiling almost always mean there has been a leak above. But I'm also looking for bad jobs. A single freshly painted area on the otherwise older ceiling tells me a repair was made at some point. I want to know what caused it and whether it was actually fixed or just painted over. Cracks in walls and ceilings? Here's the things most buyers don't understand. Minor hairline cracks are completely normal. Houses settle over time, and a thin crack here or there is not a cause for panic. But wide cracks, diagonal cracks running from the corners of windows or doors, or cracks that appear in multiple rooms, those are a different story. They need to be investigated, not explained away. And while we're here, check the windows too. Windows are one of those items that buyers almost never think about until they get the replacement quote. I'm checking whether they're single or double pane. Single pane windows are old and inefficient. You're going to feel them in your heating and cooling bills every month. I'm also physically trying to open and close each one. If they are stuck, wrapped, or hard to open, that's a sign of age, moisture damage, or settling in the frame. A house full of windows that need replacing is a significant budget item, and it adds up fast. Next, the fireplace. One most buyers admire but never actually check. A fireplace is one of those features that photographs beautifully and gets buyers excited. And it's also one of the most overlooked sources of hidden problems in a home. The first thing I check is whether it's gas or wood burning. For wood burning, I want to see signs that it's been actively used and maintained. An unused fireplace is not just neglect. It's a moisture problem waiting to happen. When a wood-burning fireplace sits unused for years, moisture settles inside the chimney flue and starts damaging the liner. A chimney liner replacement is not cheap. And remember what we spotted from outside? If there were any concern with the chimney exterior, this is where they become urgent. If you proceed with an offer, a dedicated chimney inspector is non-negotiable. Always ask when the chimney was last cleaned and inspected. If the seller doesn't know, that tells you something important. Now we are heading into the part of the house that most buyers rush through, but where the real money is hiding. The electrical panel. Find the electrical panel and open it. You don't need to be an electrician to read the basics. First, look at the amperage. Most modern homes need at minimum 100 amperes and ideally 200 for anything with multiple appliances, EV charging, or a finished basement. Older panels with lower capacity need to be upgraded, and that's a real cost. Then just look at the condition. Is it organized and clean, or does it look like a mess of wires crammed in from multiple different projects over the years? A chaotic panel is not just an aesthetic issue. It's a sign that electrical job has been done piecemeal, possibly without permits and possibly not up to code. Flag it. Next to it, the furnace. The furnace might be old, and that's not automatically a deal breaker. What I'm looking for is evidence of maintenance. Check the valves and pipes leading into it. Corrosion and rust mean neglect, and a neglected furnace is both a replacement cost and a safety risk. Ask for the maintenance records. If there are not any, you have your answer. The next one, the water heater. Find the installation date. It's on the sticker on the unit. Water heaters last about 10 to 12 years. If it's already at 11, budget for a replacement the moment you move in. And don't forget to step outside for the AC. Don't forget to step back outside for a second and check the AC condensers, the units on the exterior wall. Heavy rust and weathering tell you the system is old and tired. It might last one more season, or it might not make it through the first summer you own the house. Mechanicals are where the first maintenance is most expensive. A furnace, water heater, and AC all needing replacement at the same time is a very different financial picture than the listing price suggests. Back inside, and this next part is easy to miss if you're not looking for it. As you move through the house, pay attention to the quality of any cosmetic work. Homeowners doing their own repairs is totally fine until it is not. Uneven tile in the bathroom, a vanity that wobbles when you touch it, paint applied directly over a crack instead of repair it first, caulking that's spilling or applied so sloppily it looks like it was done in a hurry. These are signs that the person maintaining this house was cutting corners. And if they were cutting corners on the things you can see, think about what might be happening behind the walls. Bad do-it-yourself work is not just an aesthetic problem. Fixing someone else's bad renovation is often more expensive than starting from scratch, because you're paying to undo what they did before you can even begin the actual repair. And while you're in those rooms, one more thing. Open the cabinet under every single sink in the house, every bathroom, the kitchen, all of them. I'm looking for water stains on the cabinet floor, soft or swollen wood, any sign of mold, and all repair tape or makeshift plumbing fixes. Slow leaks under sinks can go unnoticed for years. They damage the cabinet, the subfloor, and sometimes the structure below. and they're almost always worse than they look from the outside. If there is a basement, that's our last stop. If the house has a basement, this is where you're going to learn the most. Basements don't lie, at least unfinished ones don't. The first thing I look for when I walk into the basement is dehumidifiers. One unit running, maybe it just gets humid in summer, that's not unusual. But 2 or 3 dehumidifiers running full time, that basement has a moisture problem. It might not have had standing water, but something is consistently driving enough moisture into that space that someone decided multiple machines were necessary. That's a conversation you need to have before you sign anything. And then look at the walls. Look at the lower portion of the basement walls, especially in the corners. A horizontal line, even a faint one, a few inches up from the floor, is a watermark. It means water was standing in that space at some point, even if it's happened years ago and was never repeated. You need to know about it before you make any decisions. One more thing while we're down here, the foundation from the inside this time. We check the foundation from outside and now we check again from inside. Same crack types to watch for. Horizontal and stair step are the serious ones. But from the inside the basement you get an extra advantage. You can see if cracks have been recently patched. Your inspector needs to get behind any repair work they find down here. Finished basement? Different rules. Here is the thing about finished basements. They can hide a lot. If the walls are dry-walled and the floor is finished, you simply cannot see what's behind them. A beautifully finished basement could be concealing years of moisture damage, mold, or foundation issues. This is not a reason to avoid houses with finished basements. It's a reason to make sure your home inspector has the tools and the access to check properly. Don't be charmed by the nice-looking basement. Be curious about what's underneath it. Before we finish, one document most buyers misread completely. Most buyers treat the seller's disclosure like a clean bill of health. If nothing bad is listed, they assume nothing bad exists. That's not how it works. Sellers are required to disclose known issues, but not every seller is honest and not every seller remembers everything. Before I visit any property, if the disclosure is available, I review it first so I know what to look for. But I never use it as a replacement for my own eyes. And here is the move that most buyers don't know to make. If you notice something during your walkthrough that is not mentioned anywhere on the disclosure, a watermark in the basement, a patch crack, evidence of the past leak, have your agent go directly to the listing agent and ask about it. Put them on record. How they respond will tell you a great deal. Here is the thing, we are not looking for a perfect house. Perfect houses don't exist. What we are doing is making sure we don't fall in love with a money pit. Run this checklist every time you walk through a property. The street, the roof, the foundation, the chimney, the pool if there is one. Then inside, floors, ceilings, walls, windows, fireplace, mechanicals, under every sink, and the basement that you walk through. That's how you read the house before your inspector does. And I want to be very clear about one thing. This checklist does not replace your home inspection, not even close. What it does is give you the knowledge to walk in prepared, ask the right questions, and make smarter decisions before you're emotionally committed to a house that's going to cost you far more than the purchase price. If this was useful, subscribe. I cover the real side of buying a home every week, and there is a lot more where this came from. And drop in the comments, what's the worst thing you ever spotted in the house you were about to buy? I want to hear it.